Welcome to Indie Film Podcast. I'm Victoria.
And I am Chuck. This week we're going to be talking about how to deal with unexpected expenses that pop up on your micro-budget indie film set. Victoria, what do you do when you're filming, you look at your viewfinder, and you realize, I'm going to have to pay somebody to fix this visually with some effects in post?
Well, before I go into what I think is the best hyperventilation technique, I would like to first start by saying thank you so much to our sponsor for this week, the From Beyond Film Festival here in Boise, Idaho. Crawling from the depths of Boise for the first year ever is a film festival dedicated to all things horror, cultish, sci-fi, fantasy, and weird. So if you have not yet found out about the festival on October 12th at Idaho Film Society, you can do so at FromBeyondFilmFest.com or by submitting your own work on Film Freeway.
Thank you, From Beyond Film Festival, for sponsoring us. If you want to be an Indie Film Podcast sponsor, just go to indiefilmpodcast.com and you can find out more information on how to do that and get a shout out from us. So, Victoria, before we start talking about indie film sets, let's talk about some famous films that went notoriously over budget. Do you want to start us out?
I mean, first of all, notoriously over budget, I feel like is going to end up being so many films. If you would try to just Google that, it's like, every film ever made. But
yes,
specifically, I do have one really fun example.
People are not very good at predicting how much things are going to cost.
You know, for a man-made concept and like technically not having money being real, humans are really bad at it and managing it. We're just not good at money.
I think we just have too many people that are coming after us trying to take it.
Maybe that's it.
That's the downfall of the invention of cash. So what example do you have from Hollywood that you want to talk about?
I have Heaven's Gate from 1980.
Okay.
And it was originally budgeted for $11.6 million, ended up costing over $40 million at the time, which equates to about $160 million now.
Nice.
So that's exciting.
So it costs 4 times what they anticipated.
Almost. Just under, 3.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, and apparently it's because the director, Michael Cimino, which I really hope I'm pronouncing that right, because there is apparently an actor with the same name. Oh. But he pronounces it completely differently.
Right on. Well, he just gets whatever pronunciation he gets on this podcast.
Well, he had won an Oscar for The Deer Hunter, 2 Oscars for The Deer Hunter for Best Director and Best Picture the year before in 1979. So the studio, United Artists, was like, hey, do whatever you want. We've got $11.6 million for you to make this film.
Nice.
Go nuts. And apparently the man is a huge perfectionist, just really needed to do things exactly the way he envisioned them, to the point where they would build sets and he would come on and take a look at it and say, no, this doesn't look like it does in my head. Rebuild it.
Oh,
and they would start over and completely rebuild the set.
Dang.
From what I can tell, he wasn't a jerk about it, which is kind of cool. But I've also never worked with him, so I don't actually know. I can't speak to that. I can just speak to the fact that he spent 5 days filming one scene of people like entering a skating rink of some sort.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. And I'm just blown away by the idea of spending 5 days on one scene.
We always say 8 to 10 pages a day. Otherwise, you're failing.
Otherwise, you're failing. So this was a failure. No.
Massive failure.
Not.
Well, I guess if they have the time, one of those things like, I have been discouraged when I've had videography jobs where you do have to revisit things.
Yeah.
And, I had coworkers at one of the companies I work for that was always very flexible about that. Like, we have to reshoot this entire thing again, but the client's going to pay for it. And yes, I was thinking, I'm going to get paid again for this, but also I really don't want to have to keep doing this over and over again because somebody at the boss level has some problem with some minor issue and wants to start over from scratch. So good for that Heaven's Gate crew for being able to just keep tackling that over and over again and thinking about their paycheck at the end of the day rather than, their motivation.
No, I would have lost my damn mind being on that side. I've been like, you still aren't happy with this? We've been shooting this for 3 days already. Are you sure you're not happy with this? It's an establishing shot.
Nice.
So, that was when it was 1980, still definitely on film.
Yeah.
This was so fun. 1.3 million feet of film.
Holy cow.
About 220 hours.
220 hours of shooting?
220 hours.
That's like a gnarly documentary.
Well, apparently the first cut was 5 hours and 25 minutes.
Holy smokes.
The reviews were not good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, because at that point, I'm sorry, that's a full day in school and not even getting to switch up the lecture that you're in. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
My attention span wouldn't let me.
Well, it's too bad that he didn't just wait until HBO started doing serials.
Yeah, he would have fit right in there. Him and Zack Snyder.
Season 1, Heaven's Gate. That's what he needed.
Gate. Well, apparently it only brought in $3.5 million at the box office.
Oh my gosh.
So it completely bankrupted the studio. United Artists had to shut down completely. They sold to MGM, so they're gone because of this movie. And now the Criterion Collection actually went back, found it. We're like, this is really solid. And did a digitally restored version of it to really bring the full color palette and everything out. And now it's lauded as like this incredible film that's a cinematic masterpiece, and it's absolutely beautiful and stunning, and everything about it is phenomenal. And it was a huge undertaking. I was like, well, it was so huge of an undertaking, it bankrupted a studio. Yes, that's fair. But apparently it's actually pretty good. So Heaven's Gate.
I don't know if I've seen that one.
I have not, but now I kind of want to, just to wonder, like, how many times did they do this? I thought the fake, maybe real, maybe fake, I don't know, 127 times Kubrick moment. I thought that was bad, but now I'm like, 5 days for one scene. I want to see the scene.
Yeah.
I want to see what they got after 5 days, and do I think it's worth it?
Yeah. Well, I guess you wouldn't know because you didn't get to see the other 1.3 million feet of footage.
I did not.
I'm gonna talk about a film that I have seen, and I'm sure a lot of people have too, which is Jaws. Actually, Jaws, and then into Waterworld. Because
nice.
Jaws, it wasn't notoriously over budget. I just thought it was interesting that back in the day, they budgeted $250,000 for Bruce the animatronic shark for the film Jaws.
Love that his name is Bruce.
And then also they had to have operators, obviously, in order to take care of the shark. And it was very expensive. It ended up being like $500,000 of their $9 million budget, just to deal with the fake shark.
They spent $500,000 on a fake shark?
Well, they had multiple too. Like it wasn't. They had multiple, but
okay. Wait, I have a really dumb question to insert here.
Okay, go ahead. But I'm not an expert at Jaws, but I will answer it as though I am and piss people off on the internet. That's
beautiful. It's only semi-related to Jaws.
Yeah.
Wasn't the shark in Finding Nemo named Bruce? Is that shark named after the Jaws shark?
I never watched Finding Nemo.
I'm pretty sure. I know there's a movie with a shark named Bruce in it.
Oh, okay. Well, the shark was nicknamed Bruce in Jaws.
Yeah,
so.
but I just wonder if this animated film decided to name it after. I don't know. That could be a fun nod. Anyway, I'm sorry. Please continue. $500,000 on animatronic sharks.
Yes, and he was obviously Jaws was difficult to film because they filmed it in the ocean, which brings me to Waterworld, which that movie ended up going very over budget, and the two Kevins, Kevin Reynolds and Kevin Costner, were key in making that movie. And Spielberg advised them, do not shoot on water. And he told them to film in a studio and use a tank for a majority of their filming.
Yeah.
They ended up filming all over the place, California, Hawaii. The end of the movie Waterworld is at the, Waipo Valley, which is absolutely gorgeous.
Oh.
And they were delayed over and over again because filming on the actual ocean, all the variables, you could get hit with rain, you can get hit with waves, and then you have to have crew basically maneuvering on separate boats, and resetting shots takes forever.
I mean, salt water is
very corrosive.
Yeah, that would be. I would never want my gear near salt water. I would not want to do that.
Us filmmakers who own our own gear and don't rent stuff or use studio equipment every single time we go out to shoot, it's like that would be a nightmare to lose any amount.
I would hate it
of gear. But anyway, that was the example I came up with was Waterworld, because I talked about Waterworld last week, and I fell for it. I love the movie Waterworld. It's one of those movies that it's just so bad, but at the same time so entertaining. We recently watched a movie, In Your Eyes. That's the same, where it's like, oh my God, it's just so wonderfully tasteless.
But I liked the concept. Frankly, I like the concept of Waterworld also. But I really love the live show Waterworld.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
It's really fun. It's at Universal Studios. It's a blast.
Oh yeah, it's not a ride, but they
No,
have
no,
the
no. It's
people-
actually a show.
Oh, okay.
But they took Spielberg's advice, and it is in a tank. It is
Yeah.
not on the ocean.
So
they
when
knew.
when they reset back to 1, it doesn't take 2 hours.
Yeah. And you hope that somebody's not just randomly adrift. You're like, where's Gaff? Like, oh, he's on that boat they forgot to anchor. Sorry.
Just slowly drifting out to sea. So should we run a Cinephiles Day before we go into some examples of us running into our own budget overruns?
Yeah, this one's going to hurt.
Okay. Do you want to take this one first?
Yeah, I'd like to go first just to get it over with. For those of you who might not remember this new segment of the podcast, Ruin a Cinephiles Day is our attempt to just say something a little unhinged and out of pocket about filmmaking as a whole. May or may not 100% be an accurate representation of our feelings or actual emotions about something, but will inevitably anger people on the internet, which is endlessly entertaining for us. So if you don't follow us on social media yet, you can check out all the chaos yourself and see these completely out of context clips posted.
If you see some of our vertical videos, people get very upset if we don't dot all our I's or cross all our T's or just say something that's an opinion.
Yeah, which to some extent, if I say something and I'm wrong, I would expect the internet to call me out on it. I mean, that's what they say about Wikipedia, right? I remember in high school when Wikipedia first got to a point where they were saying, no, you can use it as a source in your papers now because statistically speaking, every error on Wikipedia is corrected within 5 minutes because there's somebody angry on the internet who does know.
Yes.
That was fun.
The Wikipedia trolls. You got to watch out for those.
I would never go up against one of them. They are very well-spoken and know that they are right. And that would be very intimidating.
I can't wait till AI takes over all that. That'll be great.
Oh, that's really sad.
Yeah, just
no.
programmed AI trolls. Do you want to go ahead and talk Marvel and hopefully get somebody in the MCU bandwagon upset?
I like fandom, bandwagon.
I was inadvertently combining all those words into one.
I appreciate it. I like fandwagon.
There we go.
Fandwagon.
The MCU fandwagon. This is for all you MCU fandwagoners out there. Go ahead.
So the largest budget for a Marvel movie has been Avengers Endgame at $356 million, though some stats put it up to $400 million. So I'm guessing that about at the point you're spending that much money, an extra 50 mil or so doesn't really matter. You can just throw that around or write it off as waste. And despite that budget, they still couldn't buy a third act. And personally, I'm offended as someone who looks at their crafty budget and says that could fund my next 5 features, but they don't put in the effort to the story. And at this point, it doesn't even feel like Disney Marvel is really having budgets so much as just bailouts. And they're just going to keep chucking Infinity Stones at something until it looks like it's a movie. And of course, they'll keep ruining Cap with language one-liners that frankly just tear down the character. And sure, it's good for a cheap laugh. Actually, it's not a cheap laugh. That is a very expensive laugh. That is a $50 million laugh that you just paid for. And for anyone that's trying to come at me in the comments right now, I get it. I hear you. But just know that when you're angry and commenting, you're essentially giving Kevin Feige $10. So congratulations. You're now funding Secret Wars. And you know what? Just to put one last little pin in this, Disney Marvel, if you're listening, you did She-Hulk dirty with the TV show. You absolutely did. The entire ending felt rushed. She is the real GOAT. She is the best female hero you have. And no, I don't forgive you.
Nice. That was a good anti-Marvel rant.
That was a lot. And that kind of breaks my heart a little to say some of that.
Oh, well.
I actually liked Endgame. I thought Endgame was solid.
Oh, I didn't care for it at all.
That's okay.
So.
I don't love that the idea of, well, Thanos was right. I don't like that. I think that's actually very, very harmful and bad because just because you get rid of 50% of the population doesn't mean you're going to get rid of 50% of the bad mindset. It's not going to fix the world's problems.
Especially if it's random.
Exactly.
You got to get rid of oh man, I really didn't like that movie at all. I just realized as we're talking about it.
But they put dolphins in some big canal in Europe. I think somewhere in Venice.
Oh.
They were saying that the dolphins are back there or something.
Oh.
I don't know. It was really weird.
Oh, okay. Yeah. In the
movie, they said
Marvel,
that.
I was thinking for some reason the studios brought dolphins back for filming or something. But that doesn't.
I think that would be animal cruelty to put them in those canals now.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. All right. Well, I'm going to talk about ocean sharks.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Since 1970, the abundance of ocean sharks and rays has declined by more than 70%. And a lot of people will blame global warming, climate change, yada, yada, yada. But you know whose fault it was? Steven Spielberg and his depiction of sharks in the movie Jaws. I believe, and you can try to prove me wrong on this, that since Jaws came out, people's negative perception of sharks has caused that massive decline.
You know what? I think that's actually very fair to sharks in a surprising way because more people die every year from selfie accidents than from shark attacks.
Oh, true.
They're not actually the bloodthirsty monsters, but Jaws depicted them to be that way. And thanks, Steven Spielberg, for killing off all the sharks.
Yes. Actually, the movie brought a lot of people, or made a lot of people interested in sharks, and a lot more biologists went into the field because of the movie Jaws, which is actually, it's actually helped shark
that makes me really happy.
preservation. So in actuality, they think that Jaws did help save some sharks, but I just thought I'd say the opposite and see if some people get pissed off about that.
Some people will get upset, but that's actually really cool. I love hearing that, where a movie that came out, just pop culture movie, especially one of the summertime thrillers or something like that, that got people so hyped about something that they actually saw it as kids and then were inspired to go into that in their future, become a marine biologist. That's so cool.
Yeah, just like I was inspired to release myself from the Matrix after I saw that in high school. Now I'm a firm believer
Pick the right pill.
that reality is actually just a construction and that we're all living in a simulation. All right, so should we talk about, speaking of living in a simulation, simulating real life, do you want to talk about your anecdote of how you dealt with visual effects emergency?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So shooting a short film, but a budgeted short film, and the largest budget I had worked with at that point to date. So we get on set. There's an actor who's sitting outside smoking a cigarette. We make a big deal out of, him getting a light and actually lighting it and somebody else trying to bum a cigarette off of him. Yeah. And we get on set. We've got the herbal cigarettes ready to go. We've got the fake pack to put them in so they look like they're not fake cigarettes.
Yeah.
And the actor's, oh, no, I don't want to smoke those.
Ooh.
And obviously, we're not going to force an actor to put something into their body they don't want to. That's not okay. But it didn't even occur to me that might be an issue and something they wouldn't want to do. And the director just looked, because I was the cinematographer and editor. So the director looks at the actor, nods, and says, "That's fine." Turns to me and says, "You can just fix that in post, right?" Cool.
Ooh, nice.
So
you're like, I run camera. I don't fix things. Well, you can do a lot of different things.
I can do, and I was going to be the editor, so it made sense to say that, I guess. But also, was like, that's a lot of physics.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, at face value, just saying you're going to add cigarette smoke or smoke at all into a scene doesn't sound super difficult.
Yeah.
But again, it's the physics of making it look real and having it be the right opacity, having enough variations in the opacity where it actually looks like it's wafting there, making it look like it's coming out of their mouth. I don't know if you've ever seen a film where they set it to be cold or a ghost is nearby, so suddenly you can see their breath. And
and it always looks really crappy if it's inserted in post.
Exactly. It just looks bad.
So what did you do?
I tried so hard. I went down all my favorite tutorial places. I tried mocking up some options. I tried just adding a little bit of a glow to it. I did my absolute best, and I was still very unhappy with the way it looks. So I hired some people who are visual effects experts. Okay. Actually, one of them had also worked on a Marvel film in their post-production department, so it was kind of cool to get to connect with them.
Oh, nice.
That was kind of fun. But as you can imagine, not inexpensive.
No.
But they did do a great job, and it does look very good.
Okay, so how'd you cover that expense then?
I took that out of my own pocket.
Oh,
it was definitely not in the film budget.
Nice. Well, you were a producer on this too, so we should share that with people. It's not like you were. This was basically you were an owner of this film.
Yes, I was basically the co-creator of this entire film. So I was executive producer, cinematographer, production manager,
Yeah.
basically, and editor, and so there was a lot going on there. I was
A lot of
also
things.
one of 2 people that didn't get paid for working on the project because it was a
dang.
Stephen King dollar baby, and you can't profit off of them. So
you weren't going to make money anyway.
I wasn't going to make money anyway, and I'm like, you know what? I just need this film to be done.
Yeah.
I know this is just coming out of my pocket, and I don't love that it's coming out of my pocket, but it needs to be done. So that's what we're going to do.
And you did check it out online.
Oh, yeah, it's online now. I keep forgetting that I did that.
You can see it on YouTube. It's
If
a
you would
Stephen
like to-
King dollar
yeah.
baby, the man who would not shake hands.
So if you would like to see just exactly how that cigarette smoke looks, you can find it now on Victress Finalis Films.
There it is. We had an issue with our film, Stockton to Table Rock, where we didn't budget quality control. And that is something when you're looking for distribution with your film that you do need to consider.
What do you mean as far as budgeting for quality control?
Well, film distribution companies will charge you for that.
Oh.
And the quality control is I mean, it's not super expensive, but it's also not super cheap, and it's not something that we realized was going to be something that we needed to consider as far as cost is concerned.
So it's not just you and the other lower gentry team or even your DP or your colorist or anything. It's not just you guys all sitting down in a room and watching the film again for quality control. This is...
So what we did in order to combat this is we had a couple offers with film distribution companies, and then the cost of the quality control was going to be upfront with them, and we were going to have to pocket that, and then they were going to pocket the first anywhere from like $5,000 to $15,000 that our film made on streaming. So it just kind of felt like a cash grab.
Because they say that it's for the marketing of the film, right? And that they're trying to recoup that marketing money that they spent or whatever.
Yeah, but then marketing was also, based on the verbiage in the contract, it was a joint venture, which when something is a joint venture in a contract with a large company, I just assume that it's going to be 99.9% on the filmmaker, and then 0.1% maybe, if you're lucky, this distribution company is going to spend some ad dollars on getting your film in front of people's eyes.
Or they're just going to put it at the bottom of a newsletter and hope that somebody clicks on it and say they marketed it.
Yeah, if anyone has any good experiences with a film distribution company, please make a comment in this video, because I would love to spread the word about good film distribution companies.
Yeah.
So to combat our situation with the quality control cost and the upfront cost with Lower Gentry Studios for Stockton to Table Rock, the film that we released in June, I believe it was, we just decided to go with Film Hub. And so the quality control was done, I'm fairly certain, by AI. And I may have explained this on the podcast before previously, but we got 3 attempts to pass quality control. And so you upload your film, you upload all the image assets. And so we got dinged on so many things after that first pass, and they don't have an actual human being that you can talk to get input from.
Oh, it's just sort of auto feedback, kind of when you're trying to export something out of Premiere and it just comes back with an error like, there was a frame dropped.
Oh, okay.
We're not going to tell you where, but there was a frame dropped.
It was kind of like that. So we had to basically redo all of our logos for the film because they didn't like the font that we used, which was Zoe's handwriting.
So you chose a handwriting.
Yes, so
and decided to convert that into a font.
Yes, so we did that.
I say that very, very. Sorry for interrupting you, but I'm saying that very, very negatively because I remember trying to help you with like a digital cinema, not a DCP. Oh my gosh, geez, a press kit.
Yeah,
an EPK, and and trying to get it to use Zoe's handwriting for that, and just feeling. But realistically, it was so cool, and it did look awesome, and it was so unique, and it's very different. You didn't have the budget to hire a designer to create a font for you, so you were able to just convert somebody's actual handwriting into it. And then that way, when you see Rory writing in the notebook, then it matches. And that's really cool.
So, yeah,
it was cool. It was a very artistic choice.
The character's handwriting in the film matches the the posters that we made, and then we had to throw those completely out the window.
Yes.
Without any conversation with an actual person, because they just flagged it as, nope, this isn't legible enough. It's not going to pass. They didn't like the wide stereo image I used on the audio for the film. They said it wasn't narrow enough. And so not being able to talk to someone, I basically then had to export the entire audio file almost in mono to where and so I had to rebalance everything because I didn't want to send it through with too much stereo imagery, because if we got rejected a second time because of that, the third time without any input, you only get 3 shots at it. And if you don't pass QC the third time, then they're like, you cannot submit this title to Film Hub ever again. And therefore your plans of potential self-distribution, even though Film Hub distributes it. But this is kind of more like a DIY film distribution where you get your money up front immediately, your percentage of the money up front immediately as soon as you make sales. It's like that's out the window completely if you don't pass it. And so, we did 2 submissions and we failed QC 2 times. And on the third submission, like, we finally passed, but we had to change. We ended up having to pay them for their own captioning. Yeah, because we did our captioning ourselves and we followed the guidelines that were on their website and online. But then they just gave input like the captions don't follow our protocol or whatever. Like
and it can be something as simple as you put the music note symbol at the front and they wanted it at the end, or they wanted it on both sides and bookended,
but they
whatever.
They don't give that input though in the email. They just say no, it doesn't meet the guidelines. And the same thing with, I was lucky that on the audio they said stereo imagery too wide, because a lot of the other input it was just like, no, this doesn't meet the guidelines. Look at our guidelines online, and their guidelines aren't always updated. So you're just kind of shooting in the dark. Like, oh, I don't know. I have to reread all this stuff that they have posted online, and then plus check other references and just kind of guess, because you can't talk to a human being, and they don't give you the specific time codes at all points where something happened that was like outside of their QC
So they're
guidelines.
not even saying at this time captions were incorrectly formatted or anything. It's just captions were bad.
Yeah, it's like bad. No captions, no good. Do it again. So we ended up on the third go through. The only thing that was wrong on our third attempt was they said that the captions weren't quite right. And I think I think that might have been the only like disqualifying factor. They had recommended changes outside of that. And so we thought, okay, well, we'll pay, even though we just sat and did all of this ourselves, we'll pay them $100 to caption
just
it.
Do the captions
it was
themselves,
like,
however much it cost.
Yeah, it was like almost $200, I think. And so we just did it that way, and we ate it. Like that's one of the things with indie filmmaking. A lot of times, if you're not careful with your budget, you end up paying for it yourself out of your own pocket cash or on your credit card, and putting yourself into debt because you got nobody else to fall back on. So that's what we ended up doing.
That does kind of make me wonder how many people who distribute a film on Film Hub who have similar issues and they sort of overcorrect to compensate for any issues that might be coming up. Yeah. Like how you went real hard with that audio change just to make sure it didn't come up again because there wasn't an exact guideline on any particular moments or songs or anything. Yep. So I wonder if there's something to that where maybe the films that you see on Film Hub in theaters would actually look or sound pretty substantially different than if you stream it.
We screened in an independent film or an independent theater in Minneapolis, and it was so awesome because the gentleman that was running it was just a tech head. Yeah. And we sent him a DCP, and it was the best looking and sounding screening that we ever had for our film. And unfortunately, the audio, you got to put it in stereo mode if you want to rent Stockton to Table Rock. Put it in stereo mode rather than 5.1 because if you put it 5.1, everything's going to come out of your center speaker. But if you have just, if you're listening on your phone or your laptop or headphones, it's not going to matter at all. No. So I realize that most people, don't have their home audio setup because we've talked about that a lot.
We have talked about that quite a bit. Yeah. Not as far as the Ruin a Cinephile's Day segment, but I did get raked over the coals for that one for saying that I listen to my TV speakers. So
Shouldn't do it.
Woof.
Should we talk about some of the wishes that we would have if we had additional budget? Because we agree on this one.
We do, which isn't often that we agree on something specific, but yeah, art department every time.
Micro budget filmmakers, it always feels like art department is the biggest battle, and it makes it harder to do genre films or period pieces because it just looks cheap if you don't put effort into costumes.
And get somebody to be responsible for it. Don't just say, oh, we're making the movie, or I'm the director, I'll design all the props and everything. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that in general. Just get a production designer who knows what they're doing, who knows the best. Tell them what their budget is.
Yeah.
Hope that they stick around after you tell them what that number is.
Yep.
And then let them go nuts and let them handle it, because you will be so grateful that they've built you a world for your characters to live in and play in that your cinematographer can now capture. You will be so much happier with that, rather than, wow, they blatantly rented out an Airbnb that has no set deck whatsoever to film this short. Cool.
Mm-hmm. Or you can get creative as far as if you're doing a realistic drama that's not set at a different time period. What we did for Stockton was we just borrowed our friend's house, who was very generous to let us shoot in his house, but he had an aesthetic in his house already, and we're like, this is going to work perfectly for this film. And it was just the house that we envisioned, and luckily our friend owned it and decorated it himself. So thanks, Jesse, for that. And then we just crashed his house and paid for him to leave town for one of the long weekends so that we weren't
just keeping him out of his house all weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
With nowhere to go. Just sleep in your car in the backyard. It'll be fine.
Yeah,
oh, wait, no, that's illegal in Idaho now. I forgot. You can't do that anymore.
Yeah, be careful. Be careful. So go ahead.
On the note of overspend.
Yeah.
And your example being the QC, my example being hiring a visual effects pro. I think that does come down to one thing that is my number one piece of budgeting advice is to have a contingency line item in your budget.
Plan on it ahead of time.
And it is 10% of your whole budget. And I know it sucks to automatically have to just up your budget by another 10%, especially when you're on an indie budget. So it's shoestring and you're going to be clawing to get every penny anyway. But having that contingency in there means that you're not going to have to use your credit card. You're not going to go into debt, because unexpected expenses are going to come up.
Every time.
Somewhere along the lines. They're going to come up. Don't worry. That money will get spent and it will not be wasted. But yeah, you do need it.
And if you don't put that in your budget, just be prepared to pay that yourself out of your pocket, or spend a whole bunch of your time trying to figure out how to do something.
Or both.
Yeah, or both.
Or both, since both of our responses were, well, I tried to do it myself and failed miserably. So you guys didn't fail miserably. I tried to do it myself, didn't work out, had to throw money at the problem to fix it anyway.
For sure. Should we end with a couple hacks?
Yeah.
Of the week?
Yeah, because I have some visual effects hacks anyone.
What's your visual effect hack?
My visual effect hack, aside from just the very standard, if you want to get better in After Effects, or I don't know what DaVinci is called. Fusion, thank you. If you want to get better, obviously I don't use that one. If you want to get better at these things, there are billions of tutorials. Set aside one day every week or one day every other week, and you are going to sit down and you are not allowed to leave your computer until you successfully recreate that particular tutorial.
Nice.
It'll get you used to the vernacular. It'll get you used to the layout of the program. It'll get you understanding what the different physics and mechanisms behind every single effect and particle movement and all this jazz are inside there.
Nice.
And it's worth it every time. But my biggest hack is start with something real.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how shitty it is. If you need to show somebody's face getting beaten in, you don't need to, and you're going to have to do it in post because you're not actually going to break this person's nose, but you want to see bone. Perfect. Just dump a bunch of blood on their face so you have something to start with. One, it helps you set better anchors for your actual points of the effects inside of it. It helps the entire image read the depth of the image better and where certain things should be happening. And it does give you a realistic base so that you're more accentuating the real than entirely trying to fabricate something.
So start with practical visual effects.
Yes.
And add the minimum amount in post that you need to.
Always do it in layers. Cool. Always feather your edges, but always start with something real.
Right on. I like that.
Yeah.
We were talking about budgeting, and my hack of the week is about saving money.
Nice. Okay. Love this. Very excited. Please.
Equipment purchases. My piece of advice for indie filmmakers starting out is don't buy a piece of equipment that doesn't solve a problem that you're already experiencing.
Oh, I like that.
We have had situations pop up where we imagine something and we justify equipment purchases before we understand that we need it. For example, we got a wireless focus puller, which not super expensive, but it ended up being like a few $100 because we envisioned having to pull focus wirelessly.
Yep.
And the mechanical focus puller was totally fine. So we just wasted a few $100s in the situation.
The few $100 that could have covered the captioning.
Yes, exactly. And it was one of those things where, well, wouldn't it be nice if we could pull focus remotely, but then we didn't purchase the monitors and all that stuff.
There's a lot more to it.
There was a lot more to it. And the example that, because we always cheap out on audio when it comes to equipment.
Everybody does.
At Lower Gentry Studios. And I captured audio on a super cheap Tascam unit and an incredibly cheap Audio Technica boom mic and a very cheap boom itself.
Yeah.
To where it started to fall apart. It wouldn't lock into place. And we shot basically a majority of the Chit Chat web series, which you can see online on Lower Gentry Studios. So 12 films over 12 months. And I was operating on this really cheap equipment. And I realized that I'm having to go through and clean the preamp noise on every single one of these short films.
Oh.
Wouldn't it be nice if I had a recorder that had good enough preamps to where I could alleviate this step? And so my audio kit basically was built out with running into limitations on the equipment versus some of our gear we bought because we're thinking, oh, look at the shallow depth of field on this lens. Wouldn't it be nice if we, insert blank thing here?
Yeah.
And then we ended up finding a cinematographer with all his own gear, so it didn't even really matter.
Even better.
Yeah, and whereas the audio end we just bought based on running into limitations and issues, and so the kit is a lot more efficient and practical than some of the video purchases that we've made. So just wait till you run into an issue.
I think that's brilliant because not only did that let you kind of save money up for something that you knew you were going to need, you also knew exactly what problem you needed to solve and what problem your current gear was presenting.
Yeah.
Because before using that Tascam a ton on a bunch of different films, did you really know that much about preamps?
No, I just grabbed a Tascam unit.
And
we're all self-trained on all these things.
Exactly. So it kind of taught you, it filled in one of the unknown unknowns and let you know what problem you even needed to solve in your next piece of gear.
Yeah.
So then you knew what to look for in the reviews and the actual specs. I think that's brilliant.
Save some money because gear can take a lot of your funds, and people get really excited about gear for some reason. And there's so many YouTube channels just dedicated to talking about gear that you can buy.
It's like Christmas morning. You get to open all these presents, and they're just these fancy boxes, and everything's all shiny. And I don't know, it's nice.
Well, yeah, I get the same way. Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to get this new camera? And it's like, well, my old one works perfectly fine still. So why do I need to drop a few grand?
Nope. Until you know exactly what problem you need to solve, you're good with the gear you got.
Just hang tight.
I like it.
So, all right. Well, shall we end with a succinct farewell?
I think that sounds wonderful.
Bye.
Bye.